There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want.
Government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway. From Charlotte, another line going from in Florida down to Tampa. Of Putin's kleptocracy. Yeah. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put the idea that Los Angeles and what am I doing here? For two reasons. Let's be clear. I hear it all the time. Cumulative, I can play for the programs many times over.
Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
Let me start off with two words. Made in America. Made in America.
Welcome back to another night of Shtick with Koolfrogg. America Shirt said that he was going to be here. I don't know where he's at quite yet. Let's just keep on chanting for me. Eventually, he might just actually show up like he said he was going to. Beside the point, we do have quite a bit of news to actually go through. Looks like China is doing some unsafe violations of international laws by actually getting really too close to American vessels. There's a young man that is potentially unalived himself being a Ukraine supporter, and media is kind of glossing over it like he wasn't a Ukraine supporter, but yet we're still trying to say that because he had a Yahtzee flag that that was potentially something. F-16s intercept a private jet, causing a sonic boom over DC. Kind of an interesting ordeal in itself. Nikki Haley held a town hall. You got Vivek Ramaswamy actually, speaking with Martha Raddatz. It's kind of an interesting little story in itself, where he's actually, kind of thinking that it's okay to potentially swing opposite ways. From the norm that we actually kind of see is going on in Ukraine as it is. We got several different Republican presidential candidates that are partook in a roast and ride event in Iowa. Mitt Romney files for presidential election. But he didn't actually announce it quite yet. He just filed the paperwork. So, it's, dilute this shit show even further. Look like Manchin trying to actually run for a presidential run, potentially looking for a third-party presidential run. I don't know if that's really smart for him to actually do. It usually doesn't work out so well for the third party. Utah's ban on Bibles. Now they're looking at Books of Mormon. Massachusetts looks like they have a fire destroyed a church. some 160-year-old church, kind of scary and disturbing in itself. We got a few other things as well as Chris Light stepping down from CNN. Um, Illegals being jetted in through Sacramento. This mass slaughter of cows in Ireland due to global warming. More and more people messing around in Yellowstone State Park for whatever reason can't leave the wildlife alone. There potentially might be a serial unaliver that's been roaming around Portland. It seems as though they've actually found some 6 women under the age of 40, potentially thinking that there might just be something going on. And then at the very end, we'll hit on a couple little things to go along with this month of pride, I guess you would call it. Kind of disturbing and disgusting in itself. We'll hit on all of that. Again, chant for America should see if we can't get him to bring himself in here. He did say he was going to join me. Go ahead, and I'm going to say hi to everybody here real quick. Let's see who we got here. We got Susan Eckstein. Hello, dear. Good to see you. Jay Liebgott, glad you're in the house. Caitlin Williams, I'm finally catching a Shtick live. Awesome. Glad you're here. If you haven't caught a Shtick before, it's a little bit different than nowhere near what I do during the day with Talking Trash and Truth. Totally different style of setup, and I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh really, it's kind of a little different to actually throw everything on the same channel. I don't care. We do our own thing around here. I'm writing a paper, so I'll be mostly listening. Nice. Hopefully that goes well for you. Talking Trash and Truth, gifting 5 memberships. Looks like Jay Liebgott picked up one of those. Yeah, Jim Gerard is Swear I'm Not Brandon. Susie Tried and Amanda. Glad that you're all able to actually get those memberships. Again, thank you so much, Talking Trash and Truths. 2, 3, I got great news. Ooh. Got commissioned to do a painting. That's awesome, Suzanne. Glad that you're actually there. We're able to actually land such a deal. That's pretty cool. Yes, there you go. Shirts. Let's chant that young man in here. Let's go, brother. Let's go. I don't really want to backtrack on anything, so wherever he decides to step in on, who knows? We might be mid-story. We might be at the very end of the show. Nobody knows that yet. There is a Rumble side that is actually running. If you haven't made your way over there, make sure that you actually hit that thumbs up button for me, as well as over here on the YouTube side. It pays for the plumbing to be done, and then some. Nice. There you go. That's awesome. Glad that works out for you. So, let's do some news here. Let's do some news. Here you go. So, start off with China. So, China goes ahead, and this is China's maneuver in open waters of Taiwan Strait unsafe, violates international law, U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. So they went ahead and they ran their boat up right up near U.S. boats, like really too close, and it violated several different international laws in the process of doing so. Now, this is in the Taiwan Strait in itself, so it's a very small area. For them to actually feel the need to even do what they're doing is kind of scary to think that whatever's coming to us in the near future may actually cause some damage to the world. Says the Chinese Communist Party's latest aggression, this time against the U.S. ship, was unsafe. The United States military said following a potentially dangerous interaction in international waters in the Taiwan Strait on Saturday. The USS Chonghoon, accompanied by Canada's HMCS Montreal, was performing a routine south to north Taiwan Strait transit on June 3rd in accordance to the international law, U.S. Indo Pacific Command said in a statement late Saturday. The Chinese Communist Party guided missile destroyer, the Liu Yang III DDG 132 of the People's Liberation Army and Navy, overtook Chonghoon on their port side and crossed their bow at 150 yards. Now 150 yards, and you think, that's not that's kind of a long distance. Well, not when you're traveling at some 10 knots. When you're traveling at potential 10 knots or whatever, that can be covered in a short period of time and could have been very dangerous for everybody involved. So this is forcing the U.S. guided missile destroyer to slow to 10 knots to avoid a collision. So it actually slowed down to actually avoid the collision. And if it only crossed on front of it at 150 yards, and it had to actually slow itself down enough to actually not run into that destroyer, you really seriously could have been very catastrophic and could have started something more if they would have actually collided, because it could have been considered a war crime. China's actions violated the maritime rule of the road of safe passage in international waters. High seas, freedoms of navigation, and overflight apply in the waters where the dangerous interaction occurred. It added, part of the U.S. 7th Fleet, the Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer USS Chonghoon, the Royal Canadian Navy Halifax-class frigate HMCS Montreal, passed through the strait in accordance to the international law concerning open seas, the U.S. military said. So, several boats were doing exactly what they were intended to do, and it's going to most likely articles like to repeat themselves. So, we'll probably say that yet one more time, just because why not? This ship's transit through the corridor of the strait that is beyond the territorial sea of any coastal state, the 7th Fleet said in a statement. Chonghoon and the Montreal's bilateral transit through the Taiwan Strait demonstrates the commitment of the United States and our allies and partners to a free and open Indo-Pacific. Cooperation like this represents the centerpiece of our approach to a secure and prosperous region where aircraft and ships of all nations may fly, sail, and operate anywhere international law allows. It says wrong signal. The CCP's military defended its actions, saying that the transit was sending the wrong signal and that it handled the situation in accordance with the Chinese regime's law and regulations. The countries concerned deliberately create incidents in the Taiwan Strait region, deliberately provoke risks, maliciously undermine regional peace and stability, and send the wrong signal to Taiwan independence forces. Its Eastern Theater Command and China's People Liberation Army said in a statement late Saturday. Chinese state media on Saturday also explicitly named who it considers Taiwan independence forces, with Ten Keefe, spokesperson for China's Ministry of National Defense, citing remarks by China's Defense Minister Li Shang during a closed-door meeting with Singaporean Defense Minister Ng Eng Hen. China will never tolerate any attempt by the island's ruling Democratic Progressive Party authorities to solicit foreign support while seeking Taiwan independence, nor will it accept any efforts by external forces to utilize Taiwan to contain China. Typically, the CCP has blamed the separatist forces for Taiwan's refusal to bow to the regime's communist rule. Taiwan is a self-governing liberal democracy. And it technically is its own island. It technically is its own liberal democracy. China has been trying for a long time to actually take over the island of Taiwan, or I'm sorry, Taiwan, as long as it possibly could think of. Uh, it- the U.S. and its allies thinking that we need to intervene in such a thing to stop it from happening could be very dangerous in itself. If China decides to actually go and attack Taiwan. Now, if they attack Taiwan, they're assuming that we're not going to actually do anything, that we'll just stand there and watch it happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We have too much invested interest in this island of Taiwan over and over again. Gonna run, long day. See you in the morning. Yep, see you in the morning, Suzanne. You have a good one, dear. Uh, However, ahead of Taiwan's 2024 general election, the CCP is hoping to win influence in Taiwan's domestic politics. DPP president candidate Vice President Li Shang-ti is the only Taiwanese presidential candidate who has explicitly stated that he stands against the tyrannical rule of the CCP. He says that he is anti-CCP, not anti-China. Uh, you know, uh, how can you be one without the other? Um, I'm really not quite sure. I'm really not. It seems a little off to say, well, we're not anti-CCP, but we actually like China. You sure you actually like China? Because China's been trying to take over that island for a long time. They really want that territory because there's um, multiple reasons for them to want to go for world domination. Because why wouldn't they? U.S. Senators Rick Scott said in Twitter late Saturday, America's not scared of Communist China's unsafe, unprofessional, and illegal naval actions. That Taiwan Strait is international waters, and the U.S. Navy will never be pushed off course by a regime foolishly pretending otherwise. Thinking that, in believing that that's international waters is awesome, and it should be. It should be international waters. Why we, as the U.S., feels the need to continuously push the fact and sit there and sail around it in between Taiwan and China all day, every day, would kind of disturb China. And you'd think that China would just be like, I'm sick of seeing these boats pass by all day, every day. We want to take care of them. We want to remove them. Let's go play some games. Let's go play some games. Let's take a boat. Let's cross bow and just sit right on front of them and see how far that actually takes us. Because why not? Well, I mean, why is it necessary for China to feel the need to actually continuously take over more and more of the world? Not like they don't have enough investments in almost every other country out there, as well as interests in what Russia is doing. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense, which monitors movement in the seas and skies around Taiwan, said that the U.S. transit on Saturday was normal and told the CCP that it was the one disrupting peace, stability, and security in the region with its provocative actions. So the CCP was the one disrupting peace, stability, and security by actually doing what they had done and crossing bow with a boat, just making U.S. boat actually slow itself down to not run into it. Maintaining the peace and stable development of the Taiwan Strait in the region is the shared responsibility of free and democratic countries around the world, the ministry said. Any measures to increase tension and danger will not help regional security. The Ministry of National Defense calls on the Chinese authorities to respect the right to freedom of navigation, avoid excessively provocative actions, and jointly maintain regional peace, stability, and security in the region. U.S. warships transit the international waters in the strait around once a month. However, it is a rare occasion for them to do so alongside vessels of U.S. allies. So maybe China actually seen that as a threat in itself, being is that they understand, they see a particular set of boats, going through the area on a regular monthly basis to us and be like, oh, now they're no longer alone. Now they have another boat with them. Would stop them and see what we can actually, kind of information we can get out of them. Um, More than 40% of the global shipping containers traffic passes through the crucial international trade passage of the Taiwan Strait. It is the main shipping route between Europe and China, Japan, and the United States. Yeah, sorta. It is a crucial international trade passage, but at the same time, there's multiple other um, commercial docks that are up and around the whole bottom side of China that actually ship stuff out. So it's like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's gonna. It's easier for you to go through the strait than go all the way around the other side of Taiwan to make it to where you want. I get it. It's gonna be something that you're always gonna want to, keep in mind. Mad Core Mofo, what is up, brother? Good to see you. Tensions ongoing. This is earlier in the day. Taiwan's defense ministry said that in the 24 hours since 6 a.m. Saturday, it had detected 15 Chinese military aircraft and 7 Chinese naval vessels around Taiwan. Near daily occurrence since the CCP escalated its overt aggression against Taiwan in late 2020. 2 of the People's Liberation Army aircraft again entered Taiwan's Southwest Air Defense Identification Zone. Taiwan's armed forces responded by launching combat air patrol aircraft, Navy vessels, and land-based missile systems, the ministry added. Taiwan in itself is armed and ready. They know that they've been continuously looked at for, the better part of a couple years, according to this article, late 2020, when, they ramped up aggressions pointed at Taiwan. Just making a thumbnail for the first scammer stream tomorrow. Awesome. Can't wait. Sounds like so much fun. So you can kind of see here, they give you a little drawn map or whatever of roughly where, you can see the distance between China and Taiwan. And this is the Taiwan Strait. This thin black line that's running at the vertical there, or the diagonal, I guess it would be. When you actually see it, you can actually see multiple different placements of boats that are out in the water and the directions that they were actually headed. They give you little signals and whatnot to actually see what they actually are. And of course, most of this is not in English. This is the 15 People's Liberation Army aircraft and the 7 planned vessels around Taiwan were detected at 6 a.m. today. 2 of the detected aircraft who had entered Taiwan's southwest and northwest identification zone. ROC armed forces have monitored the situation, asked the CAP aircraft, Navy vessels, and land-based missile systems to respond. And they have. They're ready. They're ready to respond at any point in time. The incidents in the strait come from the government officials met in Singapore for the June 2nd through the 4th Shangri-La dialogue to discuss Asian defense issues. U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and his counterparts from other Asia Pacific nations, including China, were in attendance. The United States and all allies have voiced support for the actions and maintain a free and open Indo-Pacific in accordance to the international law in response to the CCP's flouting of agreed international norms to which it is signatory. The CCP is claiming sovereignty over Taiwan, as well as attempting to assert the sovereignty in regions of the South China Sea within its 9-dash line, triggering an outcry from all other nation states in those waters with contesting claims recognized by the United Nations Convention of Law of the Sea. In another move set to increase regional tensions, the CCP on May 15th issued new rules to the China Coast Guard to arrest foreigners who are considered liable for crimes against Chinese citizens or the Chinese state, even when committed outside of Chinese territorial waters. Uh, which kind of sounds like they just want you to actually be taken in for any reason whatsoever, regardless to where you were around the world. Uh, as long as you're showing any type of potential aggression towards China, which you just never know what they could go to the point of actually just saying flying an American flag off of it is considered liable for a crime against China. They can just go and they can, they see just a regular fishing boat flying an American flag us, and they're like, "Oh, let's go get them," and then they have the right to arrest them and do whatever they want because they issued rules saying they can. Sounds scary. Sounds really scary. What's up, Vicky? Good to see you, dear. We'll take that one down. So then, this young man really I've looked at this article and I've looked at a couple others that were similar to this particular situation. And it's kind of disturbing to actually wonder if this guy is actually unalived himself, or if is it actually still alive, and they're questioning him, or any other reason. I don't, like I said, I've looked at several different places, and it seems there's a couple contradictories to it. So it says Ukraine supporter with Yahtzee flag kills himself in police standoff in Chicago. Media conveniently ignores his Ukraine flag in reports. So then you can see they got circles, whatever, with some blurred stuff. You can see the Ukraine flag. You can actually see that they're actually saying that there's the Yahtzee flag that was down below. So this is a Ukraine supporter with a Yahtzee flag killed himself during a standoff with police in Chicago. The local media conveniently forgot to mention the Yahtzee also had a Ukraine flag on his roof. So, which one is he? Oh, Azov Battalion, potentially, he kind of, maybe he knows something that so many are ignorant to and don't quite understand of who's the Yahtzee and who's not. Which country is actually, you know, what's up, Gohagen? What's the story? What's the story of this young man? This is what we're covering right now. This young man that just so happened to have this Yahtzee flag as well as a Ukraine flag, flying an American flag upside down, showing that he's in distress all at the same time. Supposedly unalived himself, but there's other stories that kind of contradict it and kind of go against what they're actually saying. So, as you can see, flag in distress for the American flag, Ukraine flag sitting there. He's got a little yellow smiley face, a Yahtzee symbol down below, as well as this ribbon. Was this the Israeli flag? I'm not quite sure what the black flag is. Really not sure. Kind of, I mean, everyone knows the Yahtzees, right? That's the thing is just how many people, because the media is trying to brush it over. It's like they're like, oh look, he's got a swastika. Oh my lord. But they're not saying that anything about the Ukraine flag that's there. It's like, oh, let's disassociate those two real quick. Hurry up. When we all pretty much know, anybody that's been around here has actually heard me say it several times that Ukraine's Azov battalion are quote unquote Yahtzees. It's really really seriously just super disturbing and ridiculous that people don't see it or refuse to see it. You're like, no, why would we support Ukraine if that's in fact what they were? Well, I mean, why wouldn't we? I guess. Local Chicago media conveniently neglected to tell their readers that the man was a proud Ukraine supporter and also had a Ukraine flag flying next to his swastika. A man with a gun, a flamethrower, and a Yahtzee flag was found deceased after an all-day standoff with police Friday in Humboldt Park. For weeks, neighbors have complained of a swastika flag being hung in the scaffolding on the roof of the building at the 4100 block of West Chicago Avenue, according to the Chicago Tribune. Swastika flag was up again Friday morning when police responded to the scene of a man on the roof with a gun, a flamethrower, and other weapons. Police closed off a portion of Chicago Avenue near Pulaski Drive, where the man could be heard either saying or playing a recording say, F you, Chicago police, I'm going to unalive you, while blasting audio with the words F you and a recording of Eye of the Tiger. Awesome song. Glad that you could actually take that and use it for what you actually did and make it even more horrible. Around 3 p.m., Black Club reporters saw the man wielding a gun and pointing it around the rooftop. As police and SWAT teams below attempted to communicate with him, the man blasted a loud siren in an apparent effort to drown out the officers. Around 4 p.m., the door to the building was breached by authorities and two loud bangs were heard. Authorities attempted to negotiate with the man who had moved inside the building but found him deceased inside, police said in a statement. It is well known that the Azov Yahtzee battalion is a very powerful unit in the country's military. This is not a secret. In fact, Democrats spoke out about the Yahtzee unit until Russia invaded the country. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. Conservative Russia just attacked the country. We should go after them and leave the Yahtzees alone. Why? Why would we do such a thing? It just doesn't make any sense. No, it's just for the fact of trying to get to so when you actually take a look at this from the distance, it looks like this is like industrial style complex. At least that's where my mind goes when I actually see these buildings, and you can see that there's this tower that's built off of the second building. Is fairly starts down in here, stands fairly tall, and has those series of flags on it. This guy had been apparently been seen in and around the building, and he comes up on the roof, climbs up to the top, does whatever he does with the flags, marches around this area. You can see there's ladders and stuff to get out. It's really kind of interesting to actually think that there's this man in Chicago that's uh, so strapped that he actually has guns and flamethrowers. To wonder why he would actually want to actually go after anybody or who he was actually going after. So you can see they actually made their way up on a roof to actually go and take care of the armed man. Um, and it looked like he was just kind of chilling out, hanging out. He's got his guns and he just wants to do his own thing. Not an issue. I don't want to play the audio because the audio on here is kind of horrible, and I just don't want to. So there you go, a different view. Man's laying down. He's got a nice little propane tank, another propane tank. You know what happens when you hit propane tanks and if they're full? They're gonna have the tendency to explode just a little bit. Looking at it in itself, it's just kind of like he's got this, wall built up with these cinder blocks, kind of give him a little spot where he can go and hide and, take out anybody that he wants. You just look at all this stuff. You can see this guy, he's sitting right here, right in the center, right in the center there. And he's just got all this junk up on his roof. Why does does he actually live in this building? Is this just a building that's vacant and he's squatting per se, looking for um, the right time to go out and carry out his mission? Uh, Lucky for us, he was actually stopped. He was able to actually complete his mission. Apparently unalived himself in the process. Why Democrats are so against those Yahtzees of the Azov type before Russia invading the country to us and just being like, oh, Russia invaded the country. Nah, let's go against them because they're the scary ones. They're the scary ones. Yeah. I personally don't think they are the ones that are actually the scary ones. I really don't. Um, Military F-16s intercepted a business jet, shocking DC residents with a sonic boom. I found this very interesting when it came down to it. I'm like, oh wow, what in the world is going on? And why would they just all of a sudden, start such a thing or whatever? So, and it seems as though it's this personal jet or of sorts, whatever, went through the wrong areas. So the military went up to go actually intercept it, and created a boom that actually shook the ground, that alerted so many people about what was actually happening. Hey, Rose, good to see you, dear. Military fighter jets intercepted an unresponsive plane that flew over DC before the plane crashed into a mountainous Southwest Virginia on Sunday afternoon. The supersonic speeds of the responding fighter jets produced a loud boom heard over the nation's capital region, alerting so many. It alerted so many that it was kind of a like immediate trend. It was an immediate trend that so, it's like, oh, sonic boom. Well, why they would actually go ahead and be like, well, we need to emphasize the sonic boom that so many felt, as opposed to actually emphasizing what happened to this airplane that caused it to actually be unresponsive flying over DC to only go and crash into the mountains of Virginia. The Federal Aviation Administration and National Transportation Safety Board were investigating the incident. No survivors were found, according to the emailed statement from the Virginia State Police. A Cessna Citation aircraft, a business jet, departed the Elizabethtown, Tennessee and was bound for Long Island MacArthur Airport in New York, the Federal Aviation Administration said. But instead of landing, the plane turned around over Long Island and flew a straight path over DC. Now, just that movement alone, because of other goings on that have happened, 9/11, it really makes the puts the military on alert, which would actually make them actually go up into the air to actually see what they needed to do to this, figure out what this airplane was actually trying to do and where it was going, why it didn't go where it was actually intended to go, and what they needed to do to potentially, take it out of the air if they needed. NORAD, North American Aerospace Defense Command, F-16 jets intercepted the Cessna plane around 3:20 p.m. NORAD said in the statement the pilot was found unresponsive. NORAD said that the military aircraft tried to make contact with the Cessna pilot until the plane crashed near the George Washington National Forest in Virginia. The NORAD aircraft was authorized to travel at supersonic speeds, and a sonic boom may have been heard by residents in the region. Before crashing in Virginia, the plane flew over DC at an altitude of 34,000 feet, according to tracking data from FlightAware. As it flew over the nation's capital region, the Capitol complex was briefly placed on an elevated alert until the airplane left the area. Immediately, Capitol complex is put under elevated alert. They're like, oh, there's an airplane in the area. Everybody stick tight, and move you to safer places until we know for sure that everything is clear. Virginia State Police said in the statement that it was notified of a possible aircraft crash at 3:50 p.m. in the Staunton Blue Ridge Parkway region. Search efforts are still underway by state and local law enforcement. A state police spokesperson said in an email Sunday evening, nothing has been located at this time. The NTSB will lead to investigation to provide future updates. The FAA said NPR has reached out to the NTSB for more information. There's a lot more information to actually come out of this to actually see what actually did happen to an airplane that looks similar to this. This is not the airplane that actually crashed. It is just something that to give you, for instance, on what size of airplane it was not most likely was not armed with anything in particular. Why it went unresponsive, which required air defense to actually take off and go after it, to see it actually only just go ahead and crash into the mountains of Virginia. Like I said, we'll hear more. We'll hear more about this I'm sure within the next few days, once they actually figure out exactly what was going on. I'm sure we'll hear, story after story about, this, that, and the other to go along with it. So, I'd say we'll kind of stay tuned to this particular incident and see what actually comes out of the who was on the airplane. I'm sure they're going to actually go and figure that out. What caused it to actually do what it was, what happened. Go find its black box to get all the information necessary. But at the same time, like I said, the one thing that just so happened to trend wasn't that there was an airplane crash. The one thing that trended was that the F-16s that were intercepting this business jet just so happened to create a sonic boom, which shook the ground and caused everybody to question what was actually happening. kind of fun, kind of interesting. Where is America Shirts? I know that I know he wants to hear some of the stuff. I know he has opinions on some of it. It says takeaways from CNN's town hall with Nikki Haley. So if you missed it tonight, CNN did do a town hall with Nikki Haley. Uh, to I really hate calling her Nikki Haley. I wish they'd just call her what her real name is. Why why must they always go away from her name? Her name isn't Nikki Haley. Yeah, her last name's, she's married to Haley, so yeah, her last name is that. But, does anybody out there really seriously know what her real name is? No. It's Nimrata, not Nikki. Let's make myself sound better than what I ever had, because Nimrata sounds a little foreign, and may actually stop people from voting for her if they actually knew her real name. But she just continuously goes by Nikki Haley, so everybody just knows her as Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley, the former South Carolina governor and 2024 Republican presidential contender, sharply criticized the party's top polling candidates in CNN town hall in Iowa on Sunday, which was tonight. Former President Donald Trump, Haley's former boss, when she served as ambassador to the United Nations, was wrong, she said, to defend the actions of his supporters in the U.S. Capitol on J6, which she called a terrible day. Sorry, dear, that in itself might actually cause some to actually look the opposite way. There's so many that don't believe that was actually a thing. We're not going to dispute it here, but there's so many that believe, otherwise. This is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. She said a hypocritical to spend taxpayer dollar in a legal battle with Disney over what started as a policy agreement. All this vendetta stuff, we've been down that road, Haley said, in a 2-for-1 swipe at both rivals. So she's gonna speak up, and she's gonna go up. She needs to do what she's gonna do. She's not gonna sit there and like, well, Trump is good for this and DeSantis is good for that. No, she's gonna go against them because they're her rivals. She wants the nomination. She's gonna do what she needs to do to get said nomination. She made a forceful case of the United States' involvement in Ukraine's war with Russia, a break from both Trump and DeSantis. And she referred frequently to her time as South Carolina governor, touting her efforts to remove the Confederate flag from the state flag, voter identification laws passed on her watch, and more. Haley said she'll support whoever wins the Republican presidential primary, but she said, I don't play for a second. I never have. I'm not going to start. Here are 8 takeaways from Haley's town hall. Breaking with Trump and DeSantis, Haley makes the case for Ukraine. While Trump and DeSantis have made headlines with their wobbly positions in Russian invasion of Ukraine, Haley made a clear case for continued American involvement in the war, arguing that victory for Russia would set off an even more deadly global crisis. This is bigger than Ukraine, Haley said during the CNN town hall. This is a war about freedom, and it's one we have to win. We? Why do we have to win it? What do we always have to do with Ukraine and or any other war? What's up, TR? Good to see you, brother. I just don't get why we must actually put our freedoms up in the air for some other country. Haley's comments represented a clear break from Trump, who appointed her ambassador to the United Nations, who has often touted his good relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin a man she labeled as a tyrant. For them to sit there and say this is just a territorial dispute, that's just not the case. Haley added in a barb aimed for DeSantis, who initially labeled the war that way before backtracking. I mean, yeah, he did kind of backtrack on it, but at the same time, I mean, the DeSantis and Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy and Donald Trump, as well as multiple others that are actually running for this Republican Party, need to actually keep it together. They really do. They're sitting there running games around each other, trying to point fingers at each other, saying that, oh, they said this, this one said that, and the other one said something else against this other place. We should really vote against them all and through. I think the bigger takeaway from it would be is we need to actually think about putting somebody in the president's seat that isn't Joe Biden. As long as they keep on infighting like they are, Joe Biden's gonna take whatever he wants, and he's gonna continue to run with it. He's gonna continue to run with it and fall down for the next 4 years. Flat on his face. Haley also called out Trump for congratulating North Korean leader Kim Jong-un last week after the Hermit Kingdom was elected to the World Health Organization's executive board. World Health Organization going ahead and putting North Korea's Kim Jong-un and elevating him. It's just going to give him a big head. It really is. Ooh, yay! It's America shirts. An hour late. What's up, brother?
Yellow.
Yellow?
I had some personal matters to attend to. Sorry about that.
I'm going to kind of move on with this article. We're kind of currently speaking of Nikki Haley's town hall tonight.
Oh, God.
Yeah, right? It says, congratulate our friends, don't congratulate our enemies, Haley said, while also calling the World Health Organization a farce. Still, Haley's sharpest words on foreign policy were directed at Biden, whom she blamed for setting the stage for Russian aggression by mishandling the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan. We've got chaos everywhere, and none of that would have happened, she said, if not for the clumsy and deadly departure from the country the U.S. invaded in 2001. Some of the stuff that she hits on is kind of right, kind of true, kind of interesting to hear her actually say. To only go back on some of the other stuff that she had already said, as she had missed this last quote here, whatever. This is bigger than Ukraine. This is a war about freedom, and it's one we have to win. I don't get why we have to win anything. I don't know why we have to be the ones that are so involved.
Because neocon nonsense, that's why.
I mean, true. Before I got into this article, the last article, I was talking about the young man in Chicago that unalived himself with his, Yahtzee flag as well as his Ukrainian flag and U.S. flag flown upside down in distress. You think about it, and in that article in itself, it actually points out the fact of Democrats were against those Azov battalion Yazidis up and until Russia invaded Ukraine.
Democrats didn't know what the hell they were before Russia invaded Ukraine anyway. That's just so bogus. I mean, come on. For God's sake. Like, ask your average libtard, do you know what the Azov battalion is? They're going to be like, they're going to know. None of these people know. They don't know anything. They don't know what's going on in the world. They don't even know who runs the world. They know nothing. And oh, look at our fake opposition there. See, it says, congratulations to our friends. Congratulate our friends. Don't congratulate our enemies. And then, as you said, calling the WHO a farce. I mean, we can already kind of see where this is going, right? It's like Elon Musk's claiming that, and again, this is my opinion. You may disagree, whatever. But it's like, Elon Musk who, constantly has to try to remind us all about how wonderfully a America First or, pro free speech individual he is, when he still bans people on Twitter, by the way. Mr. Emmerich Jones, Mike Adams, Natural News, that crowd, all of those people are still gone. I mean, sure, he let back on Roger Stone, but for how long? I mean, so we have this fake opposition coming along, right? Musk going along with DeSantis. Now she's like, oh, I don't like the WHO. Guess what? None of us do. Guess what? Your boss did here, Nikki Haley, right? Like, he removed us from a lot of things. We were leaving a lot of things to do with the WHO under Trump. I don't believe that it was like officially done, but that was what he had started, was to try to get us removed from that. And then, of course, when Biden comes in, Fauci's like, I am so happy to announce that we're back with the WHO. It's glorious. Dr. Faucism's here to remind you what your place is, peasants. So that happened. So, but hey, now Nikki Haley's going to save us from the WHO. What the hell has Nikki Haley saved us from in the first place? Oh yeah, nothing, except for trying to get us in a war with Iran,
Nimrata's done
which
zero
Trump
things
had to
for us.
stop. So what?
Nimrata done zero things for us, and we know that. Oh, I called her by her real name. Yes, Nimrata. Haley explains federal role on abortion.
She is Indian. That's another thing. She's Indian.
She is, and that's why she has the name Nimrata, like she does. Because why wouldn't her parents give her more of an authentic name from her parents' original country? Her parents moved here some 50 years ago, whatever, before she was even born. So yes, she is legitimate and legal to actually run for the role of president. It's not that she can't. I really wish that she would actually be forced to actually use her legal name and not some pseudonym that she.
It's like
actually come up
Beto
with.
O'Rourke, right? It's like trying to use a name to gain, attention and votes and everything else. Kind of says a lot about a person when you have to change your name just to run for office. Like you got to change it. Like, well, I'm Beto O'Rourke. No, you're Robert Francis. You're some whitey from from some elite class of people. Like, you're not some sort of oh, but yeah, I know your low Hispanic type plebs. Like that's not him. That wasn't him. And Nikki Haley is not your average, South Carolinian who's just, my name is Nikki and I have heels and I'm going to stomp all over you. Like, she's not that. She's Indian American. Her parents came from India.
From India, right?
India. So, but she's trying to change her name to be like, oh, well, I'm your average South Carolinian. Worked for her for the governorship because she was the governor of South Carolina for a number of years.
Correct.
But
if we look at the last appointed position that she was in, Trump put her as the ambassador for the United Nations. So I mean, she's obviously been around the block a couple times. She knows a few things about a few things. Do I think that she's the best person for the job? Probably not. Probably not.
I would say definitely not.
What's up, Jay-Z? Good to see you, brother. let's push through this. This is Haley said that she believes that the federal role is in restricting abortion rights, but she wouldn't directly answer questions about at what point in pregnancy she would seek to outlaw abortion. Instead, Haley said that she would seek a consensus that would clear the House and Senate 60 vote threshold to end a filibuster. She said she believes such a consensus measure would include banning late term abortions, encouraging adoptions, making contraceptives more widely available, and making clear that women who have abortions would not be jailed. Can't we start there? That's because what the politicos and what the media have done is they've made you demonize the situation when it's so personal that we have to humanize the situation. Our goal should always be how do we save as many babies as we can and to support as many mothers as we do it. She said she is unapologetically pro-life because her husband has adopted and she had trouble having both of her children. But Haley added, I don't judge anyone for being pro-choice any more than I want them to judge me for being pro-life. And of course, she's standing up on stage with this guy, this whole speech, this whole shit show that was produced. He asked barely any questions, threw softballs at her all night long, and allowed her just to go up there and speak, as opposed to actually questioning her the way he should have. I think it was just that, a shit show. It wasn't something that was really all that fun to watch.
I mean, those are some good points she's made, but I mean, she's not the first to have made them. And of course, we know from all these neocon hacks, like they say one thing about like the abortion issue, whatever, and then they'll move completely to the center, right? Like her ending quote there, she's like, I don't want them to judge me. I'm not going to judge them, right? Like that's her sort of center pivot that she's kind of that she's trying to hit to, because if she wins the primary, which is again, in order to win the primary, you have to be pro-life. That's just that's just plain and simple in the Republican Party. So she's placating to that. Once she gets the nomination, then she will be totally centrist because that's how this works.
Yeah,
so this is all
right.
BS.
Exactly. We'll see.
And DeSantis did the same thing
Gets
at
the
Georgia,
where she decides to actually go. Right.
I mean, it's the same thing they told him. They said, hey, when you win the nomination for the Republican Party for the governorship here, DeSantis, his team there told him, you need to move to a more centrist position on the abortion issue. So you need to shapeshift yourself from the nomination process to the general election. So, yeah, that's all this is. And again, we know this. These are, as Steve Bannon likes to call them, the Keebler elves. She's another one of these neocon rhino Keebler elves from the establishment that they're marching out here. So,
all right. So Haley comes out against red flag gun laws.
Of course she does.
Haley, for the first time in the trial, came out against gun restrictions known as red flag laws, which allow officials to temporarily take away firearms from people determined by a judge to be a threat or to themselves or others. The laws, which had become popular in Democratic-run states, have angered many Republicans and gun rights advocates. I don't trust the government to deal with red flag laws. I don't trust that they won't take them away from people who rightfully deserve to have them, Haley said, because you've got someone else judging whether someone else should have a gun or not. As a number of mass shootings in the U.S. approaches record numbers, and with Republicans blocking efforts to change laws on federal level, Democrats have increasingly sought to restrict gun access at the local level. Supporters of the measure argue that, in a sharp contrast with Haley's point of view, they actually put more power in the hands of regular citizens especially those who are most likely to be victims of gun violence. Red flag laws or extreme risk protection orders, as Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer recently said, have been proven to reduce suicides, save lives, and keep guns out of hands of domestic abusers and violent criminals. It- because some witch named Gretchen Whitmer decides that that's what she believes that red flag laws will actually do, doesn't mean that's exactly what they'll do. You're going to take guns away from those that should have them, that might have the right to have them, that are actually going to reduce other crimes, because as opposed to being continuously assaulted or abused because you're unarmed. Once you are armed, us and you can turn around, and then what? You have a gun in your own possession to actually remove the threat. Remove the threat. I really hate red tape laws. Living in a state with constitutional carry, I really seriously uh, refuse to believe that any red flag gun law of any sort is going to do any help whatsoever. Period. And there's nothing that anybody's going to be able to say to actually change my mind on that. Constitution says so. Cohagen says bullshit. I'm not sure what the bullshit is, or where you're going with that, but it's all right, brother. Haley questions GOP frontrunners over Social Security and Medicare promises. Haley accused Trump and DeSantis of failing to level the Americans about the sustainability of popular programs like Medicare and Social Security, arguing that big changes need to be made to keep both solvent. I think they're not being honest with the American people, Haley said to her GOP primary rivals, who have both promised not to touch entitlements. On the trail, Haley has called for raising the retirement age for people currently in their 20s and limiting Social Security and Medicare benefits for wealthier Americans. Recent comments aside, the Trump administration's budget proposal included cuts to such social programs, and DeSantis previously expressed support for privatizing Medicare and Social Security during his first campaign for Congress in 2012. We can't keep kicking this can down the road, Haley said, and I know that Trump and DeSantis have both said we're not going to deal with entitlement reform. Well, all you're doing is leaving it to the next president, and that's leaving a lot of Americans in trouble. In a statement, Democratic National Committee's rapid response team accused Haley of shamelessly campaigning to end Social Security and Medicare as we know it, which would hurt hardworking families and seniors across the country. Social Security is going to go away anyway. It's going to go away anyway. It's nothing that you're going to be able to do to actually keep Social Security running in any longevity whatsoever. They like to actually boast 2036. I don't see it lasting that long. I don't see it lasting anything longer than the next few years, as long as we're under this Biden administration.
I don't see it lasting. I don't see the dollar lasting that long, yet alone Social Security. Like, for God's sake. Like, I mean, really.
Right?
I mean, if our own economy won't last but the next, 2 years, you think Social Security is going to last till 2036? Yeah. Really?
And that's, I think that's what I said last night when I was with Thermo. 2036, my butt, more like 2025. There's no way that.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Like, do you think this government, like, if we were to have some sort of economic, belly up here, do you think that the Biden government, do you think that the government that the establishment has a lot of control of now, do you think they're just going to willy-nilly just be handing out checks to people now all of a sudden? Like, no.
No.
Absolutely like, that's not happening. Now to illegal aliens, sure, because then they can bribe them, you see, because they're illegal. They're not supposed to be here. So they can bribe them and get them to do all sorts of things that they would like. But that's a whole other topic. But yeah, I mean, I see Micah Hagan in the chat saying, she's right about, the whole thing with like entitlement spending. And I would agree. We do need to reform entitlement spending. We also need to reform military spending. That's for sure. Several things, but those two are the biggest ones: military spending and entitlement spending. We need to definitely reform both of those to cut spending. But at the same time, that's still up to Congress. Congress doesn't have to have, the president come in and tell them what to do on this matter. That's why we have the Congress. That's what we were talking about with this Congress, was they were supposed to try and push.
That's
for
exactly what he's doing.
Spending.
That's exactly what he's doing, though, because he's like with the debt ceiling bill or whatever, do it or else. He pretty much requested that they do it. So otherwise, he was going to actually do whatever he needed to do, which would have led to some kind of executive order of sorts, which we know isn't law, is just an executive order and can be taken away within a few years. But, it would be enough time for him to actually put up whatever he needed until, the beginning of 2025, which would be, the next term, right? The next term for whoever gets selected as president. Yeah, I'm still a proponent for Trump. I know there's plenty of people that would be like, oh my God, I can't believe that. But, at the same time, I don't like anybody else at this moment either. Anybody else that has anything to do with it. And that's why I would go back to the same person that I voted for the last two times.
Yeah, the rest of them are establishment Keebler elves, as Bannon likes to call them. And I like that. They're the Keebler elves. They're the establishment's Keebler elves, promising you all sorts of lovely and wonderful and tasty things. But then it'll change very quickly as we get into the general. If any of these freakazoids was to happen to win, which will not happen. By the way, again, CNN literally treats Nikki Haley. Nikki freaking Haley has like what? 0.1% approval? Like nothing. She's El Zippo. She's not even a blip on the map.
This is calling what she is. Call her by her real name. Nimrata. It's Nimrata. You don't want to call her Nimrata? Too bad. It's Nimrata. That's her name. That's her name, and that's what we're going to actually continue to call her. We're going to call her Nimrata so that everybody understands who she really is. Nimrata. Jesus, Shirts, you actually sounded like a Keebler elf. Suzanne. That's so good.
But anywho's, but
it's a good joke. Come on now.
But anywho's, I mean, this is what's going on here. CNN is putting up these. I mean, these people aren't even on the Richter scale. I mean, like, if you freaking like freaking Tim Scott, even like, for God's sake, like these people are not even present. They have nothing. None of these people have anything. They have no support. They have nothing. Like Nikki Haley probably has like the South, like someplace, I don't know, what does she have? Some city in South Carolina or something? Maybe. Like what the freak?
Maybe.
Like she has nothing.
Maybe.
She's absolutely. And by the way, Trump has secured the backing of freaking Lindsey Graham, by the way, which was a fantastic thing to do. Because now Lindsey Graham's not going to back. Since I'm not allowed to, because we're what the hell is her name?
Nimrata.
That thing. It's like Nimrod. That's like Nimrod from Scripture,
Yes, there you go. Easy to remember for you. Nimrod. Nimrata.
Just like India. Anyway. But yeah, Nimrata here. Haley, she's not going to get the backing from a couple of the establishment people in
she might
South
pick
Carolina.
up a little bit of a backing, but I don't see her picking up enough to pick up the nomination.
I mean, she already has it. That's why she's doing it. But I'm just saying, like, Trump went forward with Lindsey Graham and placated to him to try to get it to be like, oh yeah, so like one of the biggest senators in the other senator that's not running for president in South Carolina now supports me. So tee hee hee, right? Like, now he could change his endorsement whenever the hell he wants, I don't know. But as far as it is now, Trump has successfully tried to fracture things in South Carolina because there were two people from that state that were planning on running. So that was a genius move on his part to try to fracture those people apart. Some of those establishment figures, especially Lindsey Graham, one of the biggest ones.
You see here,
that was a political
says, I like his voice. I listen to my 14-year-old beast child booming deep voice all day. She likes your voice. She likes your voice because it's not so deep and loud.
It's not so deep and loud.
Anyway.
Let's see. I think it was a terrible day. Haley said her former boss, Trump, is wrong to defend the events of J6 when his supporters rioted at the U.S. Capitol and Congress counted Electoral College votes. He thinks it was a beautiful day. I think it was a terrible day. I'll always stand by that.
And
Haley
that's why
said
you're
that
never going to have a job with the Trump administration the next time around,
exactly.
sweetheart.
You're
Sorry.
not going to have a job
Goodbye.
next time around. And you probably
You've secured
going
your fate.
against something like that. I mean, I almost think that you really kind of vacated.
Trump
any
is going
thoughts
to
or
light
chances.
her up on the debate stage if he goes to the debates. Which
Oh
he
yeah,
probably will.
it's going to be gold. It's going to be gold when he actually gets.
He
up
will
on
light
stage
all
next
of these people up because he supported and backed every single one of these people, and without him, none of these people would have any prominence now. Like these people would be on the
Every
back
single one
burner
of them.
someplace.
Yep.
Like Haley here would be on the back burner someplace. Tim Scott, even for that matter, wouldn't have the amount of prominence in support that he has. Definitely DeSantis. Without Trump, DeSantis is nothing. None of these people will be able to do anything. So he could just sit there, just light them all on fire, and just read off how much money he's given them, or how much support, or how many times he said their name. like he could just sit there and be like, "Oh yeah," and now you're gonna try to run against me. How nice you are! Wonderful backstabbers here. Isn't this great? You think they're going to support you, Americans? I mean, he's going to mop the floor with these people like he did in 2016 with all those people on the debate stage. It was wonderful. Oh my God. That was so much fun. I always look forward to watching this.
This next paragraph really seriously triggered a thought in me real quick. So it says Haley did not repeat the wild conspiracy theories of Trump and his supporters had spread about the 2020 election. And she acknowledged that President Biden is the president. Yes, he is the president. Here's the thing. Here's the interesting thing. I posted something in Discord. I believe I put it in general. That actually explains and shows that we can actually speak of the 2020 election in its entirety and say what we want because YouTube no longer sees it as being something of a threat. I thought it was very, very interesting, and I'm like, I'll still watch myself to a point until I know for sure that there's been several people that have actually said something and they've actually gotten their stuff back. That being said, there's at least one episode that they had yeeted from me for election disinformation. They need to give that shit back. Koolfrogg, can I post Madcore show in Discord? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Just kidding.
Let's see. Haley did not repeat the wild. Never mind. She said, though, that while it wouldn't have changed the outcome of the 2020 election, efforts to expand access during the pandemic in 2020 were problematic, and she endorsed election integrity. Laws such as voter identification requirements, which she did get passed in her own state, that many Republican-led states have enacted since then. Many critics have said that those laws will make it more difficult for some people, especially marginalized groups, to cast ballots. I think it's important for voters want to have election integrity. That's the biggest thing. There's nothing worse than when a country and other citizens don't trust the election system.
Did she get rid of machine voting? Oops.
ID required.
Oh, only that.
And ID required in the state. So,
by the way, that doesn't
really
take a
know
lot
about
of thought. By the way, that's not a very
really
intellectual thing.
Doesn't. It's one of the dumbest things I ever heard of. Is what don't you need an ID to do? Seriously.
Just
Just that. Exactly. Just that. Everything else, no, you need an ID to buy a pack of cigarettes. You need an ID to drink beer. You need an ID to you do absolutely anything else in this world.
Oh,
But
you're coming fresh across the border. How lovely. Here's your Democrat
yeah,
party
here's your
ballot for
ID
you, sir.
card. Right. It says that you're a Democrat on the back.
Make
Wonderful.
sure to vote for whoever we say, or you're leaving. Like that's basically. Yeah, that's what it
Haley
is.
slams DeSantis over Disney Row. As DeSantis clashed with Disney heads to courtroom, Haley described the Florida governor's fight for the entertainment company to sign a hypocrisy and criticized him for using public funds to pursue a private grudge, noting DeSantis once clubby relationship with Disney and his top executives. Haley said has a sudden reversal following Disney's opposition in his so-called "Don't Say Gay" legislation, which she quoted, was petty and a waste of resources because they went and criticized him. Now he's going to spend taxpayer dollars on a lawsuit, Haley said before adding a jab that might as well have been aimed at Trump too. All this vendetta stuff. We've been down that road. We can't go down that road. Pick
What
up
the hell
phone,
does that mean?
settle it the way you should.
Which is
What
how?
that's supposed to mean. And that's why they're like,
What's
oh,
your
it
plan
sounds
to
like
take
a
on the
like a
mega
jab at
corporations?
Trump.
Haley, what's your plan? Tell me your plan. You have none, because they're funding you. Like they're giving you the money to run for this office. Like let's just be real. Like Wall Street, she obviously doesn't have a ton of funders, right? She doesn't have a ton of backers, but those that she does, they're establishment people. There are a couple of Wall Street people. Like that's the only money that she has to run is from these people. Like she's not doing anything, you know. And by the way, DeSantis' thing with Disney is like totally bogus at this point because nothing has actually happened. Nothing's really coming to fruition other than the law that was like, oh, the quote unquote "Don't Say Gay" bill thing. That was for schools, and Disney just didn't like that. But DeSantis removed. Now DeSantis, did he successfully remove the city-state status of Disney? I'm thinking that was a thing. But that can be reversed. I don't believe that was passed by law.
He removed the sovereignty of it being its own. Yes, that was a thing that he actually did.
Yeah, and so that's a pretty big deal. But everything else, there's really hasn't been a lot of fruit to come from this. There's a lot more to say about DeSantis, and I have a lot more to say. But at any rate,
we got so much to go through here. I'm sure we'll hit on DeSantis at least one more time in the next few articles. The former South Carolina governor did not fault DeSantis over the law itself, saying she would have gone further than Florida Republicans did in the original bill, which forbade classroom discussion about sexual orientation and gender identity in young students. They should not be talking to our kids about gender, period, Haley said said of educators. That's what parents talk to their kids about. Exactly. So, like I said, there's so many things that she actually hits on, but there's so many things that just make you cringe when you hear it. Haley said that she would end tech exports to China. Haley staked out enough approach to China, saying that the country, without question, is our number one national security threat. She said that she would not seek to restrict trade from China on consumer goods and agricultural products, but she said that she would seek to stop U.S. exports of tech equipment to China. She also said the Koolfrogg pandemic revealed the United States over-reliance in Chinese goods. What I will focus on is when I become president, the very first day, you look at it and say, if China pulls the rug out of us tomorrow, would we be ready? Would we be safe? Haley said she would sanction China for its role in supplying fentanyl that arrives in the United States often via Mexican cartels. There's nothing that they dislike more than when we hit their wallet, she said. She stopped short, though, of endorsing President Joe Biden's position that U.S. forces would defend Taiwan if China invades. No, that I will tell you is we are, or what I will tell you is we are going to make sure they have the equipment and ammunition and the training to win themselves.
So it's like a
Now,
Ukraine thing. Ah!
No,
Whoops.
the first article that I hit on was China's violations.
China's violation was today that they actually, or yesterday, that they went and took um, one of their destroyers and actually sailed it across the bow of a United States ship that was headed through the strait. They actually, cross bow with it, or whatever, and actually made the U.S. ship actually slow down, which threw up tension between U.S. and China in the strait, causing thoughts of the island of Taiwan to be potentially be attacked here, probably really soon, throwing the fact that the good chance that if we actually push our might or their will just a little bit against the United States, that the United States would actually just take up arms, causing a war in itself. Kind of scary and disturbing to actually think that they can just do whatever it is that they want to do. Let's see. No, what I will tell you is we're going to make sure that they have the equipment and ammunition and training to win themselves, just like we're doing it with Ukraine.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yep, just like you said, just like we're doing with Ukraine.
Slava
We're just gonna make
Ukraine,
sure.
by the way.
Here you go. We're just going to throw millions and billions of dollars at you and be
We
like,
all
here you go.
love the Ukrainians.
Um,
I
yeah,
fly
sure
the
we do.
Ukrainian flag upside down every day. Of course, then again, no one knows what the hell is upside down and right side up with the Ukrainian flag. So who cares?
Not even Zelensky himself.
Exactly. So who cares? I'll just wave it however I want. I'll just tell you that it's right side up or upside down, whichever is preferred by the day. It's fine.
Sure. And then trying to actually pick up a little bit of a sympathy from the audience or whatever. Haley on Sunday spoke about her husband Michael's coming deployment overseas for the first time since it was announced last week, joking that he seems to find really interesting times to be called to serve. We're so proud, Haley said, noting that her husband, a major in the South Carolina Army National Guard, was also deployed during her time as governor. Deployments are never convenient, but they're necessary. Haley also directed a message to fellow military families, praising the resilience and saying it was their and her job to keep all well on the home front. Of her own relationship, Haley described it as a mutually supportive and a model for other military families. I'm blessed because I've always supported every way he wants to serve his country, and he's always supported every way I want to serve my country. So I'm a lucky girl. To every military spouse, we can do this.
Oh my God. So cringe. I mean, it's like she wants people to go and serve in foreign countries rather than bringing them home, rather than stopping war, because she's a war hawk freak. That's who she is. She loves all this stuff. That's who funds her, throws some money her direction. That's what's been happening this entire time. She's been in lots of places in public office. But yeah, it's like, oh, well, he's being deployed, and well, our military families, like she's acting like deployment is just some sort of, it's just a thing that happens. It's just a thing. It's like it shouldn't be a thing that happens. People shouldn't be deployed across the world. We shouldn't have this. We shouldn't be spending our precious resources, our young people in this country and others in this country, and just shipping them off to God knows where for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so she has just basically publicly stated to you that she endorses that idea and that she thinks it's normal and that you should think it's normal too. And we can do it, though. Like, bullcrap. Screw you. Screw your neocon hackiness. Nobody likes you. You're not relevant. You're not even on the Richter scale. You don't even have like a full percentage point on the Richter scale. You're nothing. You are irrelevant entirely from the political conversation. Nimrada Haley, leave the political sphere. Back to the Keebler Elf hideout, and just go. Just go back and leave us all alone.
TR says, been listening, just can't chat because I'm driving. Good to see you, shirts.
Hello, TR. How's it going? Been a while.
Let's see. So here you got Vivek Ramaswamy takes Putin's side in heated exchange with ABC's Martha Raddatz. So this is Republican president. This is 2-minute read and is going to push through this real fast. This is Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy thinks major concessions need to be made to Russia in order to end the war in Ukraine, a war he believes doesn't affect U.S. interests. Speaking to ABC News anchor, the foreign policy expert Martha Raddatz, Ramaswamy maintained his view that the war should not be a U.S. foreign policy priority. Instead, it should focus on diminishing the alliance between China and Russia. I think the job of the U.S. president is to look after American interests, and what I think the number one threat to the U.S. military right now, our top military threat, is the Sino-Russian alliance. I think that by fighting further in Russia, by further arming Ukraine, we are driving Russia into China's hands, and that Sino-Russian alliance is the top threat we face. He said he would only terminate U.S. military aid to Ukraine if Russia ends its alliance with China, leaving Raddatz to question Ramaswamy about how he would deal with Russian President Vladimir Putin. How do you do this? No one tells Vladimir Putin what to do. That has not worked yet. He also noted that she also noted that Ramaswamy has said he would allow Russia to take over the Donbass, a Ukrainian region partially occupied by Russia and a major contention point in the war. I don't trust Putin, but I do trust Putin to follow his self-interest. I don't think he enjoys being the little brother in the relationship with Xi Jinping. So what I think we need to do is end the Ukraine war in a peaceful terms that, yes, do make some major concessions to Russia, including freezing the current lines of control in a Korean War-style armistice agreement. Raddatz ended the conversation with the injection of reality, noting Ukraine really wouldn't want to engage in the candidate's plan. Ramaswamy agreed, acknowledging it would mean Ukraine would be banned from joining NATO, but the war would be over. But the war would be over. Yeah, right. Whatever this guy just so happens to think, it doesn't, I don't think is going to be right. I don't see it working the way he wants it to. I'm going to hand over the Donbass region to Russia. Here, it's yours. Freeze control of wherever it is right now. And we're just going to, stand here and deal with it. False flags. What's up, Click Jaw, Jimmy?
Yo,
thoughts?
Jimmy. Well, this guy obviously sounds more like he's running for a seat in Trump's cabinet than he does actually running for president himself. Because he sounds more like a political advisor or a geopolitical advisor when he's talking than he does an actual president. Nobody sits there, for example, nobody sits there and says, like, I don't trust Putin when you're actually wanting to run for president and actually wanting to win. What you do is you sit there and say, hey, listen, Putin, you just address what Putin's doing himself, not what you think of him. Right? Like, you don't want to sit there and tell all these different foreign leaders what you think of them personally. Like, who cares, for one thing? And number two, why would you do that? That's idiotic. You're giving away what your own personal mindset about it is yourself, how you see those individual leaders personally. That sets the relationship off on a bad footing already to start with. So clearly he doesn't care about whether or not a footing is bad with a relationship with Putin or not. So it seems to me more like he's looking for a place within the upcoming administration to advise Trump to do certain things. That's what that looks like. Does not sound like somebody who wants to set up relationships with people set up relationships with other nation states and their leaders. It sounds like he wants to give advice upon it. That's what I'm saying. Because you never reveal that kind of thing if you're actually seriously considering running for office like that. So I think he's running it for a position in Trump's cabinet somewhere. That's my
It kind of sounds that way now that you actually say that. Yeah, it kind of makes sense for him to actually try pushing it to be, that, so that way he would have some kind of an in the long run. Makes no sense. Like Trump said, why would I tell you what my plan is? Because then your enemies will know the plan as well.
Well, right. And of course, they do it because, they spawn things up, they start things, they make things go crazy in the Middle East and other places, our elites. But as far as this is concerned, you could kind of use that similar type of logic, right? Because it just makes sense. It's like, well, why would you say that? Well, there's two options here. He's not a member of the establishment. Vivek Goswami is not a member of the establishment. So for me, again, some deductive reasoning, right? Where it's like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, it kind of sounds like he's more of an advisor type than he is actually wanting to set up relationships, actually be able to, quote unquote, make a deal over there, right? Like Trump would be able to do between Russia and Ukraine. It sounds like he wants to advise this whole thing, and he's telling again his personal opinion about it, his personal this. You don't do that when you're wanting to set up national relationships. You just simply tell what you think about what you simply give your perspective on what the other side of the equation, not necessarily opposing, but just another side of this, what their position is. Just call that out directly in the reality of it, and then state your plan. You don't sit there and you don't personally say, well, I don't trust him and I don't think he's this, whatever, but hey, we need to do, like, you don't use that kind of language when you're trying to set things up. Use that kind of language if you're behind the scenes giving advice, like, hey, you probably should trust him. That's what to me sounds like it makes more sense and boosts the whole thing. And Trump has actually not really said anything about him, by the way. Trump has said things about, I think, DeSantis mostly, but a couple of the other people as well. He said a couple of things. Right. I've never heard him once say anything about Vivek Ramaswamy. So there's already kind of a good relationship going.
He kind of likes him. He actually kind of endorsed him. He kind of endorsed him. He's kind of like he has said several times that he actually likes the guy for what he is. He's not like the rest of them.
So it does make more sense.
It's been a couple weeks since I actually seen an article that actually said something about such a thing. But he would be a proponent for Ramaswamy over anybody else that's currently on the docket that he would actually fight or want to actually fight against. Let's kind of kick this up. It is a little bit. So this is 8 Republican presidential hopefuls attend Iowa roast and ride. Not going to read the whole article. It's not necessary. The point is that Trump was notably absent, according to what they were saying. Joni Ernst had several Republicans actually show up for this event. This is the combination barbecue rally and motorcycle ride on June 3rd, hosted by Senator Joni Ernst. And the Iowa State Fairgrounds had the following declared or presumed Republican presidential candidates in attendance: former Vice President Mike Pence, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, Senator Tim Scott, former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, Michigan businessman Perry Johnson, and author Vivek Ramaswamy, as well as conservative talk radio host lady Larry Elder. So
I mean,
all
what
of
the hell
these-
is Larry Elder think he's doing here? Like he couldn't get the governorship in freaking California for it wasn't even the official run for governor. This was a recall election, and he couldn't get in because of all of the stuff that goes on with California. But I don't even know if he would have had all the votes to once you lay everything out. Now he thinks he could run for president. Like you haven't even managed California yet, dude. Like, get back to there. I don't even dislike Larry Elder. I happen to like Larry Elder. Problem is, he can't handle this position. What are you talking about? Running for president. You're burning down your own state career here. Like, go back to the state of California and start trying to do things there and keep things up there until you actually make some progress. You haven't made any progress in California yet.
So then, so then basically what the other point that come out of that was Mike Pence actually signing paperwork and not actually announcing. He has not physically come forward and announced his wanting to be elected for
Well, because he's
president of the
trying to
United
find a
States.
secure location of a bunch of neocon hacks and weirdos and Fox News viewers that don't know anything but the as Darren Beatty of Revolver News likes to always say, the cattle slop that they give you on Fox News. They don't actually give you anything real. Faux news. Those types of quote unquote conservatorb, Republican, conservative ink types. All of those people, either that or they'll just pay a bunch of people. I don't know. They got to find some secure venue because as soon as he announces, "Oh, I'm running for president," he's going to be booed off the stage before he can even get 3 words out of his mouth. Like, that's what's going to happen. Like, he's not going to. Nobody wants this. Nobody wants any of the rest of these Keebler elves, by the way. But in particular, Mike Pence is most
What
certainly
about
despondent.
this Keebler elf? Manchin on 30-party presidential run. Not ruling anything in, but not ruling anything out.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me? What? When the freak did, oh my God. Oh, why? Because he was on Chuck Todd's show 5 times. He thinks he can run for president. God almighty have mercy. Are you freaking kidding me?
Nah.
What the hell does this
It might be all
this
right though, because
sanctimonious,
Senator.
self-absorbed.
Think about it though. Senator Joe Manchin goes and tries to run for president. Most states have laws that say they must actually step down from the seat that they're in to actually run for a different seat. Would that not open up West Virginia for the potentiality of a new senator?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
not only that, but we've already talked about where there's other people running for his seat already. So, and the other one, Shelley Moore Capito, is just atrocious. She needs to go. Bye-bye. No more of you. She's atrocious. Both of these people are atrocious. But she's just egregious because she sits there and acts like she's a Republican. She's nothing. She's a hack.
Suzanne,
freak.
I want the Keebler cookie. I'll cut the elf for the damn cookie. Do it. She wants a cookie so bad.
Hey, all they're feeding you is like, cookies full of lies and bullcrap. Like, hey, here, establish. It's called the establishment cookie. The establishment Washington. It's called the Wall Street cookie right there. Is what that is.
Suzanne's in Canada. Even worse.
May God have mercy upon you. And all of those people up there, for God's sake, oh my God,
have mercy.
So
hard. You read through this real quick here. It says Senator
Joe
Manchin said on his week's broadcast on Fox News Sunday that he was not ruling anything in and not ruling anything out. When questioned about whether he would consider a third-party presidential run, anchor Shannon Brehm said,
you have not ruled it out and taken off the table. Is a third party run in the realm of possibilities? Manchin said, you better have a plan B, because if plan A shows that we're going too far reaches of both sides, the far left and the far right, and that people don't want to go that far left or that far right, they want to be governed from the middle. I think there is that you better have that plan B available and ready to go. Manchin said, I'm not saying who's it's going to include or exclude. I'm saying you better have plan B ready, Shannon, because that's what it's going to take for this country to remain the superpower of the world, to give confidence to people around the world that the reserve currency should be the US dollar. That support for freedom and democracy should be the US government and the US Defense Department. We can do that. You can't do it from the extremes.
He just laid out the most extreme freaking like rhino hack, totally not middle of the road. Oh, I'm not a libtard either. Like, he's not an establishment shill freak. No, like, he's just, but he's so middle of the road. Like, for God's sake, he says the US dollar should be the world's reserve currency. How is that middle of the road? Trying to like force everybody to stay with the US dollar as the reserve currency when they don't want to. All right, like how is that middle of the road? Like, how do you enforce that, Joe Manchin? Like, got a plan for that? You plan on like what are you gonna do for Brazil if they want to like join the BRICS nations? Like you got a plan to reel them back in? Because I don't see that happening anytime soon. Like, I mean, like the world's. I mean, even think about it too, right? Like oh, that's such a middle of the road position. World's reserve currency. I mean, really? Like that's a globalist mantra. By the way, am I still here?
Yep.
Okay. The article went off the screen.
It's because we hit the end of the article.
It was super short. It was super short. It was just a little blurb, whatever. It was just like, this jackass wants to do this.
It's so unbelievable. But pull it back up. Pull it back up. I want to like.
I shit the article out already. Sorry, it's gone.
God, but
no, seriously, I bookmark all my stuff. I took away the bookmark and I clipped it out, so I can maybe look to see if I have it in my history. I think I clicked on it most recently. That should still be there.
And he says that the defense of democracy is the U.S. Department of Defense. Like what a like freaking neocon, super extraordinary. Let's just use our military force to dominate the planet type, globalist type, NATO type, UN type of thing. That's not middle of the road. Nobody wants that. Nobody is asking for as I said with Haley earlier on here. Nimrod Haley there.
You can see the only thing that was left is these last two sentences. So ruling it out or not ruling it out, not ruling anything and not ruling anything out. So is all that led up to his actual thought of I'm not ruling this in and I'm not going to rule it out. I'm just going to do whatever,
Yeah, look at that. That's the support for freedom and democracy should be the government of the United States and the U.S. Defense Department, which is creating in the world the antithesis of freedom everywhere. But like whatever. Like, let's just, he's so middle of the road that we're going to use freaking Milley from the Department of Defense. We're going to use freaking Lloyd Austin from the Department of Defense, the Pentagon and all that. We're going to use them to, quote, promote democracy. Raytheon and bombs blazing everywhere. Because that's, but freedom. Like, he sounds like Lindsey Graham is what he sounds like. He's literally Lindsey Graham, but with a D beside his name. Okay, that's basically Joe Manchin at this point. Okay, nobody wants this. No one wants this.
Koolfrogg, did you
Nobody
see
wants
what I sent you in the DM? I did see it. I'll see if I can actually, if I have enough time to actually pull that up. We're already hitting almost that 2 hour mark, and I still have about 8-10 articles up. So we're going to see if we can't push through this, and maybe I can actually get to that.
By the way, if freaking Robert Kennedy Jr. was to be on a debate stage with Joe Manchin, he would light his ass on fire, and he wouldn't put it out.
Probably, right? Oh,
And he wouldn't let anyone else put it out either. He would just let it burn. Like, to draw that analogy out some more, like he would just get destroyed. Like, there's no that would be hysterical. Of course, they probably won't let. I mean, again, they're already telling us they're not going to do debates on the Democrat side, anyways. So what the heck? Oh, and if Joe Manchin's allegedly running for a third
right.
party, then,
and
well, then
we
he's not
see
gonna
we
be on a
see
debate stage with them
even
either, so
the likenesses
anyways.
was I can't think of his name at the moment. Dude from Dawson's Creek, or whatever, actually come out and adamantly push the point of what's the point if there's no debate? We have no democracy. So,
Dawson's Creek.
God, what the hell is his name? Why can't I think of his name? It's either way. He come out and he actually said this exactly that. He says if we don't have debate, we don't have democracy. You're
I am
diluting
glad
it.
I
You need
don't
to
know what
actually,
that is, because it sounds like some TV show that I do
James
not want any part
Vanderbeek.
of.
James Vanderbeek. He was walking his dogs and his kids or whatever, and he just so happened to record what he was saying. But it's just proof
He
that
walks his kids on a leash. That's weird.
no. What the hell?
I mean, you said with the dog, and I just assumed.
He was walking his dogs without a leash, and then he was pulling a stroller. He was recording what he was saying, and he was actually specifically saying, without debate, we don't have democracy. And he was very adamant to the point. I had actually covered this last week in one of the days that you weren't around. And it was very interesting to actually see Hollywood actually come and stepping up to the point of actually being like, well, wait a minute here. Some of them are starting to wake the fuck up to the situations.
And they'll be kicked out. like that's the thing. Hollywood is a closed cult organization. If you are not a part of it, you're out. Goodbye. Like that's just it. And by cult, I don't just simply mean LGBTQKAIP cult, whatever the hell. I mean literal occult, like satanic cult. Like if you're not in it, then goodbye. Like that's just like there's a club.
A bunch of these really
you're not gonna
don't
be
need
in
to
it,
be
then you
read.
leave.
It's just the title in themselves will actually give us enough information on what we need to actually think about. So this is a Utah school district removed the Bible from some of the school libraries. Now it's received a request to review the Book of Mormon. Utah says, remove the Bible from all your libraries, all your school libraries, because it's dangerous and it actually causes you to actually think and causes thought. For them to actually go after the Book of Mormon in the state of Utah really kind of seems like a far stretch, as most of us know that Utah is very, very well known for its very large group of Mormons.
Mormoniness.
I guess.
Is that a word? It's a verb.
But as you can see, they've already gone ahead and done so much, and now they're wanting to do more, removing the likenesses of religion from the school libraries. But it's okay for them to actually go ahead and push and press for things like underage trans dances or whatever you want to call them. It just disturbing in itself. Utah is actually being destroyed as we speak. being destroyed, taking away Bibles, taking away the books of Mormon, taking away all of that, and then saying that it's okay for children to be around for drag dances, whatever the hell they want to call them. It's kind of sad and scary to actually think that this is potentially a thing that could happen, restricting access to Bibles and any other religious material. There you go. Fire destroys a 160-year-old Massachusetts church. So that when you see a massive steeple, that one you can see this. Look at this awesome steeple. It's just a wonderful looking congregational church in itself. Probably something that most had actually seen in the skyline for a long time had actually gone up in flames. And has been destroyed. It actually, the whole spire seriously was on fire and actually collapses eventually. Kind of sad and scary in itself to actually, wonder what actually did happen. They're not quite sure. Nobody's really come forward to actually say if it was, intentionally set, or if it was a natural disaster that had actually hit it or whatever, causing such damage.
Yeah, from the looks of the article, they're saying that
You can
it
see
might have
it's
been
struck
lightning.
may have been. It's believed that the church was struck, so they have actually updated this. Lightning Friday afternoon as showers and thunderstorms were moving through the area. So maybe they actually did finally come up with the actual reason and actually blamed it on the storm coming through or whatever. But sad in itself to actually think that this 160-year-old church no longer exists.
Well, it's like the burning of Notre Dame in France, where they claimed that it just like, oh, well, it just spontaneously combusted. Whoops. Like, I mean, I'm sorry.
Picture.
It was around for like what, almost 1,000 years. And then it's just like, oh, it just spontaneously combusts. Like, I don't think that's how that works. And I'm suspicious. I mean, they burned down Canada's churches everywhere. They've bombed other churches in the United States, tried to burn other churches in the United States. Now we've got this. I'm not leaving anything out of the question.
Right.
Myself.
Exactly. They're saying lightning, but we'll see. We'll see what actually comes out of it. I'm sure there'll be more information within the next few days if there was actually anything else. This guy, Chris Light, CEO, is stepping down, resigning. We've seen so many producers.
Oh, so soon.
Publishers.
He had such high hopes.
Right, being yeeted from their jobs through places like CNN and other places as well. Even Twitter in itself had watched 3 different people step down from positions within the last few days. It seems to be a lot of it going around, and nobody really knows exactly where this is actually going to head in the future. This is the low light of Trump's town hall, which followed the months, like telling people how simple it would be to cover the former president. The story reveals. So he's it's the things that they speak of and what they actually do that actually gets them yeeted from their jobs. But yes, this guy from CNN no longer going to be around. Oh,
see,
no,
and one of the things with that too is that a lot of people on the quote unquote, like, what are they called? Like, the gamer sphere, the entertainment sphere of YouTube, where they, they're like counterculture entertainment sphere stuff, like Yellow Flash, and some of the different people like the neurotic types and so forth. A lot of those different people talked up a big storm about some of these people over in like Discovery and these other like big outlets that own CNN and own several other things.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like talking up such a big storm. oh, because they're moving to a different position. One of those guys in there funded Donald Trump there for a little bit, or gave Donald Trump some money. Well, they didn't look that like later on he, rejected funding for Donald Trump the second time around. But whatever. And they called him all sorts of names after that. But whatever, who cares? But they didn't look at that. They don't look at any of these things. Now we see where the CEO of CNN is being booted because he decided to bring on Trump and some Republican candidates. And so now he's gone bye-bye because, well, I think it's more so Trump than the other like Keebler elves, but
Yeah.
But
That's pretty much what it comes down to. Almost anybody that has any kind of contact with Trump or whatever, if they had anything good to say, were pretty much, looked at and yeeted. Now, the young lady that held the town hall with him because of the way she was so adamant, she seemed to have actually been thrust to the forefront and elevated into a different position where she's actually one of the main anchors and given, a position. So it's really
but I
dependent
wasn't
on-
necessarily saying about like the guy that supported him. I'm not saying that was the head of CNN. I'm saying it was like a head of like, or like some, I forget if it was a head or the head of Discovery, which is over CNN.
Right.
And so that's even before this guy at CNN who went on, the CEO of CNN itself went on to, was like CNBC and started saying that like, we need to listen to everybody. And that includes Donald John Trump. And now we see the result of that. Because clearly, as is not a very popular thing to say in a lot of the different spheres on the interwebs, as I've described, like Yellow Flash sphere, some of these other places, these people are still marching in lockstep with the technocratic world order agenda here, and they don't much care. The ESG, technocratic, NWO agenda, they don't care. They're going to hire and fire whoever they need to. And they'll make you think whatever the hell they need you to think. Who cares? Like some sort of fake opposition, whatever, for like a split second and then move on. Like Elon Musk. I mean, this is where we're at, people. So like, don't be fooled because somebody gave some support to somebody or a Republican at one point in time. Like this is just idiotic. Like I was seeing some people sit there and be like, oh, well, look, like for example, like Elon Musk's CEO that he hired for Twitter or whatever, the WEF lady. She'd like to post from this conservative and whatever. Yeah, some people sometimes will like posts just to keep it on their timeline on Twitter. Like I've done that myself plenty of times. It's not that I actually enjoy the whole idea of it. I just put a like there because it keeps it on my timeline so I can go back and reference it here.
Retweeting something puts it up on the timeline so you can actually go back and
for people to look at. It doesn't mean you love it. It just simply means you want people to look at it. Or you want to look at it yourself to show somebody else or whatever, right? So like that doesn't mean that you're a big fan. But see, that's the thing. It's just this copium bullcrap. Like stop the copium horse crap here. Okay, like these people, Musk and these other different people, like I mean, I even heard some people talk about CNN too. It's like CNN might become a fair platform. Who knows? Bullcrap. Never was, never will be. Oh, but they got rid of Don Lemon. Ooh, they got rid of Chris Cuomo.
That's not going to do
cares?
shit.
Chris Cuomo's a freaking PEDO. He was going to get fired anyway, and so was the rest of his staff. They were all that way. And that's not even a joke. I think did we? Pretty sure we covered that on this show. Actually, we went over that. Yes, we did. We went over all that with Chris Cuomo with that thing. So he was going to get ousted anyway because that was all coming to the surface. And then Don Lemon has a court case where he's, doing things with his privates and stuff. So like, I mean, that was going to come out. That was, that was going to ultimately lead to his ousting at some point.
Disgusting.
So like, it's not like they're clearing house. They're just removing some people who they needed to remove at some point anyway. But they're going to fill it back in with a bunch of wackos, as you've just said. With this individual who's done this thing with Trump, they're already more prominent. So I mean, this isn't a surprise at all to people who are actually living in reality and paying attention to what's going on. These people are still in the ESG stuff. They still promote the culture creation of this total degenerate culture that they're trying to create with all the entertainment sphere stuff. So don't be fooled because one person gave money here at one point in time or said a nice word here or whatever. Look at a continual pattern of behavior. There you go.
Exactly.
Anyway,
Okay, so
and words as well. All of it. Anyways.
right, those two, those hard R's. Yes. Um, hey, winning reality. Where? Hey, winning reality. Let's see, winning. Where's winning? Anyway, here you go. Mystery jet. Illegals arrive in Sacramento. Mystery jet, huh? It says California officials are looking into the origins of more than a dozen illegals who were ferried into Sacramento by private jet over the weekend. The illegals were dropped off Saturday in front of the Diocese of Sacramento. The 16 illegals were said to be from Colombia and Venezuela, and after crossing the border of El Paso, Texas, were processed by U.S. immigration officials and given court dates. They claim to have been approached by some offering them jobs before being put on a plane and arriving in California. Governor Gavin Newsom and Attorney General Rob Bonta met with the group Saturday, who said documentation and purporting to be the government of the state of Florida, Bonta said in the release. The group was taken from Texas to New Mexico before being flown by private jet to California with no prior arrangement or care in place. Officials are investigating and evaluating potential criminal and civil actions against those who transported or arranged for the transport of these vulnerable immigrants. Because that's what it matters, is now it matters on how they actually got to where they are. It never cared before. It never mattered how they got to wherever they wanted to be, as long as they got there and they were safe. But now all of a sudden somebody took a bunch of people on a private jet, and they're like, "Oh, wait a minute here. You can't do that. That's not up to you to do. It's up to the government to do only." Suddenly, both Bonta and Newsom seem interested in the transport of illegals into the state of California, but only, it seems, if they come by private jet. Thousands flowing over the porous border do not get the same scrutiny and government resources as a dozen landing in the state capital. Attorney General Bonta provided the following statement. Today, I met with over a dozen migrants who are brought to Sacramento by private plane and no prior arrangement or care in place. We are investigating the circumstances by which these individuals were brought to California. We are also evaluating potential criminal or civil actions against those who transported or arranged for the transport of these vulnerable immigrants. While this is still under investigation, we can confirm that individuals were in the possession of documentation purporting to be from the government of the state of Florida. While we continue to collect evidence, I want to say this very clearly. State sanctioned kidnapping is not a public policy choice, it is immoral and disgusting. We are a nation built by immigrants, and we must condemn the cruelty and hateful rhetoric of those, whether they are state leaders or private parties, who refuse to recognize humanity and who turn their backs on extending dignity and care to fellow human beings. California and Sacramento community will welcome these individuals with open arms and provide them with respect, compassion, and care they need after such a harrowing experience. In a separate statement, California Governor Gavin Newsom said, "My administration is also working with the California Department of Justice to investigate the circumstances around who paid for the group's travel and whether the individuals orchestrating this trip misled anyone with false promises or have violated any criminal laws, including kidnapping." Perhaps Newsom and Bonta can facilitate moving the illegals to the sanctuary city of San Francisco. I mean, if you're being told that you have a job or that they can get you a job, they're offering you a job and they bring you somewhere and they don't give you the job. No, I get it. I get it. That's kind of rude, immoral in itself. Why you'd want to actually transport these people yet one more time to take them out of the capital of Sacramento and bring them into the likenesses of San Francisco might be a little bit, more dangerous in itself. What are you doing? Why would you want to transport these people out of Sacramento? Can you not actually put them up? Can you not actually? Is Sacramento a sacred land that immigrants can't actually travel to? And why does it matter that they were actually flown by the private plane? Does it really matter how they got there? They came across the border somehow, some way. Doesn't matter what state they initially landed in. It's horrible. It's horrible and disturbing. Yeah, wonderful, huh?
Beautiful, 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 wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. We get flooded. Our border gets flooded with all these people. We don't know where the hell they're coming from. We don't know what's happening. We don't know anything about these people. They're terroristas. They're, cartel terroristas. They're, all the rest of it. Yeah, it's wonderful. We get to flood the first world with the third world, replacement migration stuff. It's great. It's great. It's wonderful. It's all good. It's all wonderful. George Soros is getting everything he wants. It's wonderful. Anyways, let's go to the used to be formerly agricultural legal capital of the world to now the agricultural ass of the world now, Ireland, unfortunately, ashamedly so.
Ireland to slaughter
I was literally just
200,000
complimenting the other day
cows.
Ireland's food laws. I was literally complimenting it the other day. Literally. Now we have this asinine move. Unbelievable.
But they're burping and farting everywhere. We must remove them.
Yeah, and they're providing some of the best like butter and cow products known to man, but whatever.
Right? So,
says WEF shills.
Yeah. Ireland's government is pushing plans to slaughter a staggering 200,000 healthy cows to fight so-called global warming. The move is part of a broader plan by Irish lawmakers to meet the radical goals of globalist green agenda.
Wait a minute. I thought these people loved the earth. I thought these people loved animals. I thought that human beings were terrible. I thought they loved all of these things. Well, actually, no, they don't. They hate life. They're in a death cult. And anything that even remotely could provide people with food or human life must be ended too. So, if an animal like a cow provides us with meat and dairy and all sorts of lovely other things at mass, well then, sorry, they all have to go. Say the NWOW.
Well, these are all milking cows. These are milking cows that they're actually going after. So it says the slash of the nation's emissions, the government wants to gut the national dairy herd by 10%. The revelation is just the latest in a series of troubling moves from Western nations to green agenda goals dictated by the World Economic Forum and the United Nations. In the Netherlands, a major European food producer, government officials issued mandatory buyout order in November to confiscate farmland. As Slate News reported, the Dutch government shut down 3,000 productive farms to comply with the global warming goals. In December, Germany ordered farmers to slash fertilizer after the Dutch farms were shut down to comply with global warming standards. And this week, Irish lawmakers are pushing a plan to kill over 200,000 cows to meet the same global warming goals. A target by reducing emissions from farming to Ireland by a quarter by 2030 has been set by the government, Farm World reported.
Now, let me just say this. I don't know if the Dutch are just, we know the Dutch have stood up a lot. They're not completely docile. But the Irish? I would like to see those people walk up to an Irishman on an Irish farm and be like, hey, we're gonna kill all your farm, and we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and just try to like forcibly just slaughter everybody's animals in Ireland, in freaking Ireland. I mean, they had when was the end of their little Irish Civil War that they just like slaughtered each other amongst themselves? Like these people are not unaccustomed to to fighting. Let's put it that way. Even in America, we refer to the Irish as the Fighting Irish. You know, uh, I think I don't know how well this is gonna roll over for them there. I know the Dutch were putting up a good effort there to peacefully protest
I
everything that's
don't
been
really
going
see
on.
this being a good thing. I don't see farmers being like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm good with that. You can take half my cows. You take a percentage of my cows. You can
I
take
mean, as
10%
much
of
as
it.
the
You
Irish have been
take
abused
any
in
percent of
history,
my cows.
oh boy.
I'm gonna be like, hell no. You don't get to take a single cow. I don't care. Fight me. um, One proposal to achieve this is by reducing the national dairy herd by 10%, the equivalent of removing 65,000 cows a year for 3 years, according to the Irish Independent. Minister in Agriculture Charlie McConnell told Irish radio station RTE Morning Ireland that a dairy vision group with former representatives has been looking into a range of options to reduce emissions on farms. The Department of Agriculture has said a report outlining a $200,000 reduction, or Jesus, outlining a 200,000 reduction in dairy cows was a modeling document, insisting that the plan has yet to be enforced according to the Irish Mirror. But multiple reports confirm that the cows will be culled, costing taxpayers 200 uh, um, uh, pounds, 200 million pounds per year over the next 3 years to meet green agenda emissions targets. The Farming Independent, that's not the pound, is it? That's a different shape. The Farming
That's a euro.
Independent, that's a euro. Okay.
Yeah.
The Farming Independent said it's got the figures in its report from the internal document through a Freedom of Information request. According to the UK Telegraph, Irish farmers are rebelling against the plan. One Irish politician described the plan as absolute madness. There are warnings that some farmers will refuse and others will leave the sector if an order is introduced. Farmers fear it will not be possible to meet the targets with only a voluntary call. Tim Cullinan, president of the Irish Farmers Association, warned that beef and dairy production would simply shift to other countries if a limit was introduced in Ireland, undermining the attempted emissions savings.
That's the whole point, right? Like it's just like with, our bull crap, the, Green New Deal crap. It's like, well, China's still going to put stuff off. All these other countries are still going to do this stuff. Like other countries are like, why are you trying to force us down? Oh yeah, because it's not about being green. It's about forcing you down into submission. It's about taking away your food supply. It's about taking you off the electric grid. It's about turning you into third and fourth world, and the elites have everything, you have nothing. But yet you'll be happy. Again, as they say, you'll own nothing, you'll have nothing, you'll be happy. That's the plan. Okay, that's the plan here. He said it himself. Well, what the heck? Other people are going to do this. Exactly. They don't care. That's the plan. It's to take you off of it. That's the goal. The goal is not fixing climate change. All that's bogus. They know that. This is about destroying our civilization and putting them at the top and you at the way down bottom. That's the plan. Precisely.
Reports like this only serve to further fuel the view that the government is working behind the scenes to undermine our dairy and livestock sectors. While there may well be some farmers who wish to exit the sector, we should all be focusing on providing a pathway for the next generation to get into farming. Pat McCormick, president of Irish Creamery Milk Suppliers Association, said it was frustrating that the industry was being targeted. We are the one industry with a significant roadmap, and to be quite honest with you, our herd isn't any larger than it was 25 or 30 years ago. Can this same be said about the transport industry? Can the same be said about the aviation industry? If there is to be a call, he said, it needs to be a voluntary scheme. That's absolutely critical. The news follows calls for Democratic President Joe Biden's climate czar John Kerry for farmer to stop producing food. As Slay News reported, Kerry, Biden's special presidential envoy for climate, issued the warning during the Green Agenda conference in Washington, D.C. During the Department of Agriculture's Aim to Climate Summit, Kerry told the audience that we can't get to net zero. We won't get this job done unless agriculture is front and center as part of the solution. Kerry warned attendees that his and other world leaders' lives depend on farmers ceasing their operations. Stopping farmers from growing food will lower agricultural emissions, Kerry insists. He continued by noting that he does not even call it climate change anymore. It's not change, it's a crisis, he declared.
I mean, literally, the level of gaslighting from John Kerry at this point is so off the charts. He's telling you, hey, people, stop producing and eating food and you'll save your life. That's literally what he said. Stop eating. John Kerry just told you to stop eating. And it's going to save the lives of everyone on the planet. Unbelievable. These people want you to die. They want depopulation. They're culling the herd in Ireland of cows. They want to cull the human herd. And they've said that before. John Kerry literally just told you that. When the hell are you all going to wake the hell up? They want you, as Alex Jones likes to say all the time, they want you dead.
Right.
They want you cold.
You are the carbon they want to reduce.
Any cow, any animal, any agricultural product they have to do to reduce you, they will reduce it.
Right.
It's about destroying your life, controlling you, stopping you from reproducing, and stopping you potentially, again, a lot of you, most of you, from living. That's just reality, folks. That's just reality.
It is reality, and I know I'm pushing this through. We're really past the time frame that I wanted to actually be at. There's a few more things I do
You
want to
can
actually
blame Nikki Haley and Joe Manchin for that.
Exactly. That Nikki Haley article wasn't originally in there. That was something that I added later on, and they really took up a lot of time. So I'm going to actually still kind of push through some of this here.
Another reason not to vote for any of those people. There you
go. So last week we had actually heard about this guy that was in Yellowstone Park, and he actually went and took a bison, a young bison that was separated from its herd temporarily or whatever. They left it on one side of the river as most of the herd moved on. He went ahead and he was playing with it, touching it, moved it around, which caused it to actually be accustomed to thinking that humans were okay or whatever. And it was coming up on the road and whatever else, blah, blah, blah. They had to actually euthanize it and remove it from the face of the planet because of some asshole. Now, all of a sudden this week, Yellowstone visitors placed newborn elk calf in vehicle drive to police station. So you can see this, on this very young elk. This is the incident which Yellowstone National Park has just revealed to the public took place over the Memorial Day weekend. As Yellowstone closes the case of a Hawaii man's disturbance resulting in the death of a bison calf, park officials have announced a similar situation with a newborn elk. It is currently elk calving season in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. The paramount that visitors keep their distance from cows and calves during this time. Sadly, this report details an opposite scenario. During the Memorial Day weekend, visitors placed an elk calf in their car
while likely driving on US Highway 191 in the park, and brought the newborn to the West Yellowstone, Montana Police Department. Officials reveal in an extensive report covering multiple wildlife incidents and violations throughout May 2023. The elk calf later ran off into the forest and its condition is unknown. This incident is under investigation and there's no additional information to share, but the incident is unfortunate for the number of reasons. As Yellowstone asks, please leave the wildlife alone. Why would you want to play with the wildlife? Stop touching the babies. They don't want to be touched. What are you, Joe Biden? Displacement of calf eliminates any chance of mothers finding its newborn. Elk mothers leave calves bedded during the day in forage or graze. Even if the park visitors' intentions were good, displacing wildlife is a federal crime in violation of Yellowstone National Park regulations. These laws are in place to protect wildlife in the ecosystem they depend on. As Yellowstone notes, approaching wild animals can drastically affect their well-being and in some cases their survival. When an animal is near a campsite, trail, boardwalk, parking lot, on the road, or in a developed area, leave it alone and give it space. It's also important to note that while an elk cow may leave her calf in short periods to feed or drink, she typically stays in close proximity and maintains visual contact. The bond between a cow and her calf is strong, and they usually remain together until calf becomes more independent as it grows older. The mother elk may have been close by, and the park visitors would not have been aware. Even if this is not the case, it is the responsibility to let nature take its course in all national parks under such circumstances. Take the pledge to protect the park wildlife. Please remember the Yellowstone National Park regulations require that you stay at least 25 yards away from all wildlife, bison, elk, deer, and at least 100 yards away from bears and bulls. Disregarding this regulation can result in fines, injury, or even death. The safety of these animals, as well as human safety, depends on everyone else's good judgment in following these simple rules. So please protect Yellowstone National Park. There's the 911 if you need it. So either way, very, very disturbing that somebody would actually remove this calf from its mother. It's going to go run around and most likely not live through its time as it needs its mother to feed. If it cannot find its mother, what the hell? And seriously, people are disgusting and disturbing. That's all they know how to do is fuck around.
Well, they're
and
full of
find
themselves,
out.
and they only think of like Bambi, and they're like, "Oh, look, it's just like it's a plush toy, but it's real life. So let's take it in and let's do this with it or whatever." Like, I mean, they have no understanding of reality. I mean, this is the thing. Like, these are like these libtarded freakazoids that don't live in the real world. They live in some high-rise apartment. They finally get out in the real world, and they're just like, "Oh my God, look, it's a little baby deer. Let's take it home, mommy." No, it was by itself. We need to take it to the police station. It's like, how about you leave it alone entirely? No, they can't do that. They just refuse to because, hey, everything is mine. I'm entitled to everything. Why can't I just have a pretty little pet deer to pet and whatever? Like, I just want this. I just want that. And again, like I said, they don't live in reality. They don't understand the concept of like, oh, if there's a baby deer, there's probably a mother that gave birth to that deer. And that thing's probably, floating around there someplace.
Like it stated, is most likely they thought that it was abandoned. Well,
No mother is going to abandon their baby, like that.
Not when they're animals. They're animals, really seriously take care of their babies.
Yeah, they're not like libtards who try to kill their children every chance they get before they're
Right.
born.
That's exactly where I was going with that.
Right, exactly.
They're not like human beings who are ignorant and will actually just go ahead and unalive something because they just don't want it any longer. Leave the wildlife alone. As far as that goes, when I say leave the wildlife alone, there's actually been within the last week also another person that had actually been almost gored by a bison. Another one, over and over again, almost every single week during this height of the traveling season or whatever, during the summers or whatever. It's like more and more people are just getting so stupid and ignorant. They're just gonna go walk out in front of it and get gored, killed for being dumb. And I mean, I guess you get what you actually deserve, but maybe think smarter next time. Um, I'm heading out hunting next month where I am. They have wild boar hunting. No tags needed, no limit. Gonna fill the freezer. That sounds like fun. Hello, Ostrich. Do you know what DNA stands for? Dads never abort. Her. That's fun. That's good. That's good stuff. So here's some thought for you as we actually go to wrap up tonight. Got a couple articles left here. So 6 women under the age of 40 were found unalived within 100 miles of each other around Portland, raising speculation of a serial unaliver on the loose. Authorities are investigating the deaths of 6 women who are under 40 and have been found of within 100 miles. Is that what it said? 100 miles? Within 100 miles of each other in forested rural areas of Portland, according to KGW 8 News. The tragic discoveries have led to speculation that a serial killer is on the loose. 5 different law enforcement agencies are investigating the women's death, and at least 3 of the agencies have said that they're working with others to determine if the cases would be connected and have a single perpetrator, according to the officials of the local publication. In the most recent case, 22-year-old Ashley Reel was found unalive in the heavily wooded area of Eagle Creek on May 7th after she was last seen in a transit center in late March. Another woman, Joanna Speaks, also vanished in late March, and her body was found in rural area of Clark County on April 8th. She died of the blunt force trauma in head and neck, according to Clark County Medical Examiner's Office, which declared her death a homicide. The remains of Bridget Webster was discovered on April 30th. The bodies of Charity Perry body and the unidentified Native American woman were found on April 24th, and Kristen Smith was found on February 19th. The victims, when you actually look at them, they don't all look really all the same. Most of them have dark hair. Uh, Obviously, that one was the unidentified. Most of them looked the same, but they not a single one of them actually. Usually when there's a serial unaliver per se, usually there's something in specific that they look for that they target. Um, it's kind of scary and disturbing. Hopefully, the people in and around Portland actually see what's actually happening, and they'll pay attention to their under 40-year-old women in their families. Okay, boys, I'm off to plot world domination. Have a great night. Thank you, Suzanne. You have a good one, dear. See you in the morning.
So, in other words, Koolfrogg, could I give an example? Like, like for example, Hillary Clinton, has, it has sort of a thing that she looks for when she's going, oh well, we're on, we're on YouTube, but I mean, we love Hillary Clinton. I'm not suicidal. Koolfrogg is not suicidal. We're all very happy people, and we love the Clintons.
Yeah, sure we do.
And the Clintons do not have a body count, and they do not unalive people. And they don't look for specific things, like people coming against them, and saying things against them, and digging up dirt against them, and so forth and so on, from journalist people, independent people, and other types. They totally that's not a thing. So that would be the thing that you don't look for, as an example, right?
If Suzanne is still with us, I don't know if she said that she was going to actually take off, and I did say goodbye to her, but we'll see. If she's still with us, here's the little thing that she sent me here about Kansas passes a bill defining women.
Kansas has become the first state to pass a bill that defines woman as someone who is biologically born female. That's it. That's what a woman is, which means that this will ban men who identify as transgender women from using single-sex areas designated for women. So the Women's Bill of Rights is approved by legislators 26-10 on Thursday.
Isn't it pathetic that we actually have to get
And the bill defines a female as someone, quote, whose biological reproductive system is developed to produce ova, while male refers to anyone whose reproductive system, quote, is developed to fertilize the ova of a female. This is a beautiful bill because it doesn't just say don't
It's sad.
kids. It doesn't just say wait till 8 to introduce kids to transgenderism.
It's so sad.
Once they turn 9, that's fine. It doesn't just say only minors can't. It bans transgenderism.
Kansas did this. So it's kind of fun and very interesting.
They couldn't get abortion. They had like an abortion amendment they were trying to add to the Kansas Constitution, and somehow that got in there. So that's also weird how this gets through and then that doesn't. I don't know. Like sometimes I think certain people's prioritize certain things. As far as like putting things on ballots allegedly. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Like some elite people. You know what I'm saying. Maybe not. Without me saying, you know what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying.
I mean, maybe the people have a little more control over. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. This one, you know what I'm saying.
Right. Well, that kind of leads me into these other last two articles that I have here that are relevant to each other. So then here you go. Sesame Street goes all in for Pride Month. Happy Pride. Elmo loves you. Destroy our childhoods as we speak. The iconic children's TV series Sesame Street is all in for Pride Month this June with a series of social media posts encouraging its audience to celebrate LGBTQIAAP2S plus identities. This gets longer and longer each and every single day. The first Pride post on Thursday featured queer actress Ariana DeBose, who won an Oscar for her role in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story remake, in a video in which she explained the show's annual liturgy. Hi, Elmo and I wanted to share that everyone is always welcome on Sesame Street, DeBose said. This month and every month, we want to uplift and celebrate the LGBTQIA plus family, friends, and communities. Elmo added, from our Sesame Street family to yours, happy Pride. Elmo loves you. Caption read, everyone is always welcome in Sesame Street. Let's celebrate LGBTQIA plus people in the communities this Pride and every day. Happy Pride Month. And of course, there's a video to go with it that we will not play. The show's choice of the LGBTQIA plus acronym excludes several pride identities. The presence of only one Q and an A can mean Sesame Street neglected either queer or questioning people, or allies or asexual people, respectively. Further, the lack of P for pansexuals and 2S for two spirit identities could be could have seen it a problematic among the identitarian left. The omission of 2S particularly could be seen as an act of indigenous eraser. The LGBTQIAAP2S plus tributes this not only was not only Jesus, I can't even read, was not done yet either. As on Friday, Sesame Street added a second Pride post reading, "This Pride Month, let's celebrate diversity in unity and spread love and acceptance. Together, we can make the world a kinder place for all." Uh, I can't rightfully. Just can't. These assholes need to stop pushing the ridiculousness, grossness of this. The Sesame Street series has generally been targeted at children aged 3 to 5. This is not the first time it paid tribute to pride gods. On June 2021, the series made a point to introduce a gay couple for Family Day. Sesame Street was always been a welcoming place of diversity and inclusion. Series host Alan Morak, who is gay, wrote at the time, "So I'm so excited to introduce Nina's brother Dave, his husband Frank, and their daughter Mia to our sunny street." Our Family Day episode drops today on HBO Max and on YouTube. In 2018, Mark Salzman, a longtime writer of the hit children's television show, claimed that the characters Bert and Ernie were always written as gay, loving couple. However, the series later walked back the writer's proclamation. They were cousins. They were cousins, you jackasses. The cultural juggernaut has taken up the LGBTQIAAPS P2S plus representation outside the Pride Month as well. For instance, the series also welcomed cross-dressing actor Billy Porter to the show wearing his Oscars tuxedo dress in 2020. That same year, the series also put on a half-hour show teaching kids how to be anti-racist and special urged children to call out others who they suspect of being racist. That in itself is racism. Just saying. Saying. You don't believe me? Maybe we should look and find out. I'm telling you. You go around and tell somebody, trying to teach somebody to be anti-racist is actually being racist, because the stuff that they teach isn't teaching them to be all inclusive or all accepting of everybody. It's all inclusive and all accepting of those that are not white, which in itself is racism. Thank you so much. That wasn't good enough for you. That was targeting the younger kids. Here, let's go after those preteen teens that love music all so much, and talk about Taylor Swift marks Pride Month during Chicago concert. Harmful laws putting queer community at risk. Madcore. Oh my fucking god. Pop megastar Taylor Swift marked the start of Pride Month by blasting what she called harmful pieces of legislation, a reference to the growing number of state laws protecting children from irreversible body modification sexually explicit drag shows, and other forms of radical LGBTQIAAP2S plus indoctrination. I swear to So this is performing Friday at Chicago Soldier Field as part of the Eras tour when she paused to launch her Pride speech. We can't talk about pride without talking about pain. She said, right now and in recent years, there have been so many harmful pieces of legislation that have put people in the LGBTQIAAP2S plus the queer community at risk. It's painful for everyone, really, um, for everyone, every ally, every loved one, every person in these communities. Swift, whose fan base contains a large number of gay men, then urged her fans to vote accordingly. That's why I'm always posting. This is when the midterms are, and this is when these important key primaries are. It, you are not a politician. I really seriously hate when artists, actors, musicians sit there and push the bullshit that say, "Oh, we're going to actually tell you when to vote, how to vote, and where you should actually do it." Uh, she added, "Are they advocates? Are they allies? Are they protectors of equality? Do I want to vote for them?" States including Florida, Oklahoma, Texas, Utah, Tennessee, North and South Dakota, and Montana have enacted laws or measures that protect children from irreversible transgender medical procedures, including hormone therapy and genital transmogrification. Some states have also prohibited drag shows from being performed where children may be present. In Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis signed the Parental Rights in Education bill into law, which prevents the teaching of radical gender ideology, including transgenderism as well as sexuality, in public school children. As Breitbart News reported, Taylor Swift recently cast a female to male transgender model as her love interest in a music video she shot in her album Midnights. Swift was embraced left wing politics and woke activism in recent years. In 2020, she officially endorsed Joe Biden's bid for the White House, placing her enormous star power and influencer status in service to the Democratic presidential ticket. At the time, Swift said abortion and gay rights were among her top issues in choosing a candidate. During the 2020 presidential race, Swift lashed out at then President Donald Trump on social media. In one rant, she accused him of stoking the fires of white supremacy, warning, "We will vote you out in November." Stop it. Stop it. Just all the way, all across. Stop it. Stop trying to push disgusting ideologies on our children. This isn't something that's cute or funny or accepting in any way, shape, or form. Anybody that thinks that this is just that is wrong. You are wrong. You should not have the right to push this on somebody else's child. Now you're going ahead and you're pushing it into our children's cartoons, into uh, the kids, the older kids' music, the stuff that they love to listen to oh so much. It's gross and disgusting. Nobody can see that. If you can't see it whatsoever, I'm sorry. I can't help you. I can't help you. I don't want to try helping you. I don't stop thinking that pushing this crap on anybody is healthy because it's opposite of that. It's not. We watched the Matt Walsh thing before we went into this for a reason because of what it actually said. The state of Kansas is like, nah, we don't think so. We don't think so. This is what it means. to be a woman. This is what it means to be a man. You don't like it, find somewhere else to go. Now, this woman of Taylor Swift, bringing up states like Florida, Oklahoma, Texas, Utah, Tennessee, North and South Dakota, and Montana, should all of those states should just immediately say, no, you are not allowed in our state. You are not allowed to come to our state in any way, shape, or form to perform anything. We don't want you. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. America Shirts, you still with me, brother?
Barely.
Okay. Well, we're getting ready to go. That was the last article I had. Did you have any thoughts or opinions before we actually do go? Did you want to share anything on any of that?
Other than it makes my head hurt. Which is odd because it's like I want to beat my head off a brick wall, but then that would just make my head hurt worse. So I'm kind of like stuck in a, rock and a hard place, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I got you. Thank you also very, very much. If you have not hit the like button already, please do so over here and on Rumble. I see that 0 people have actually said anything over on the Rumble side. It does look like we actually did have somewhat of a viewing. It looks like there's still at least 7 people over there. Kind of a slowish night for what it is. It is Sunday. I get it. It's kind of hard to actually speak about a lot of this stuff. There's Great Liquor. Hello and later. Awesome. Thank you, Great Liquor, for being over there.
Hey, here's the one comment.
All that being said, make sure that you actually check out americashirtsairfirst.com.
And use the discount code Koolfrogg to save 15% on anything in the store. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I've not had time to fix the images on the website, but I can assure you that it does work. So please go check it out. If you want to support me, go buy a lovely based t-shirt over there. I do plan on adding, when I do that to the website, I do plan on trying to add some other different things, including hoodies, if anybody's interested in that.
That's fun. There you go.
So anyways, but there you go. So, and my Rumble channel, go check Rumble channel out over there.
That's what I was just going to say. Now, don't forget those Rumble channels, locals, and, of course, right here on YouTube. Hit that like button for me. Share this out. Let everybody know where you like to hang out. We'll see you in the morning for another episode of Waking Up with myself and Talking Trash and Truth. It should be an interesting day in itself. And then we'll be back tomorrow night for another episode of Shtick with Koolfrogg. I don't know about America Shirts, but I will be here for sure. Everybody say goodbye.
Later, peeps.
He's like,
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Love y'all. See you later.